This On? Season 5, Episode 1.
Whoa!
Watch Kenny versus Spenny, Season 4, Episode 1. I'm Chris Lorenz. Max.
Okay, hold on.
Just say who you are. It's
My
fine.
name is Maxen.
This is Robert Kitts.
Hey, this is Brian.
Noah Singer.
Yo, this is James.
Welcome, everyone, to the 5th season of Who Put This On?
Wow.
Can't believe
It's
it.
been a long
Cinco.
time, guys.
Cinco.
Are we like an OG podcaster at this point? Were we in before the craze?
Absolutely. We were white guys podcasting before it was cool.
Yeah, but before Conan, there was us.
All right, so does anyone have a show description for this up? All right, I got it. I got
okay.
Wikipedia up. Here we go. It's not a
Season
great-
5, we can't get it together.
We definitely. This is not our best podcast right now. Kenny versus Spenny is a Canadian game show television series starring Kenny Holtz and Spenny Rice, who face each other in various competitions. The loser of each episode must perform an act of humiliation, usually selected by the winner. Holtz and Rice created the series, blah, blah, blah. That's the good enough show description. So, Max, what is this show, and why did you pick it?
Okay, this is a really odd show. We're going to get into whether or not it's reality, but it is a sort of 1v1 prank competition show. Kind of Impractical Joker-ish, but it is the fact that it's one-on-one constantly is different and new. Yeah, that's Kenny versus Spenny on Canada channel.
Yeah, it's on the Comedy Channel. But
On
Matt,
Showcase, which
Showcase
is the
now.
Canadian version of Showtime.
What?
oh wait,
Whoa,
what?
whoa, 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 whoa.
Yeah.
Why is it not just called Showtime?
I couldn't answer that. Do you know what Comedy Central is called? The Canadian version of Comedy Central is called?
Comedy Network.
Comedy Network is correct.
Whoa!
Yup, 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 yup.
That was a very impressive guess.
I go to Canada reasonably often.
Wait, did you actually know that, or did you guess it?
I was like 70% sure.
All right. So this show starts off with Kenny and Spenny in their shared apartment or house, as we call it, and they say they describe the competition as the first one to get a boner. So in order to do this competition, they're all wearing swimsuits, and there's like a bunch of shenanigans going on.
And not like
before-
swimsuit, but like Speedos.
Speedos. And then a bunch of shenanigans happens, which we'll all get into. Kenny gets a nerve block,
Yep.
and so he essentially just cheats this whole competition, which is, from episodes I've seen has been, his MO. And eventually they get into a lap dance off, and then Kenny wins, Spenny loses, and he has to do humiliation, which was put bees on his crotch. And that was it. That was the end of the episode. Just
Yep.
shenanigans.
Quick, just a step back in history to come back to the future. This is not the exact Canadian Showtime. Owned by a different media conglomerate. It's its own thing. Just happens to have a similar name. Back to the
Okay. Good to know.
Well, we didn't want all those angry messages to come back at us.
Yeah. No, I appreciate the internet corner on that.
show. The listeners need a voice.
So, yeah, I've never seen this show before. It is pretty wild. I don't think I've ever seen that much just like penis in my face at once before.
Really?
I feel like you shouldn't have picked this episode.
Yeah.
There was definitely a cringe factor that might not be there in other episodes.
I mean, that's part of the appeal, I think, of some of this show, but
Sure, totally. Yeah.
Max, how did you learn of this show?
A,
Since you
it was
were
on
the
our-
chooser, I'm very
Okay.
curious to know how, when, and why you have selected the show.
Two separate events led to this momentous occasion. Events 1, 3 weeks ago, I'm talking with one of my old coworkers about what he should watch after Documental. So I said, watch the Caligula Kidnapping Championship. He says,
Oh
"Wow,
yeah.
incredible recommendation. Max, you should give Kenny versus Spenny a shot." Events 1. This is like 3-4 weeks ago. Events 2. I was looking through our queue of what show to do next, and there was Kenny versus Spenny from one Robert Kitts.
Right.
So I had a recommendation from one person, a recommendation from another person. I looked at the highest rated episodes of the show, and this was number 2.
Number 2 all
number
time
4 or
of
something.
the show.
I don't know.
Number 4. Okay, you're a little flaky on that last stat. But all the other stats, those are accurate.
Sure. I think it might be number 2. In any case.
Okay, so should we ask the question right now? Do we think that this is a reality show or not?
It's
We
not.
can get into it. It's very questionable.
Yeah, because like Impractical Jokers to me seems way more like a reality show than
Yeah.
this, and this is a very similar premise. So like I don't
Well,
know.
I think the difference is that, well, from my perspective, it's pseudo reality, not real. Like, these people, the producers have set up this whole situation. They've got these two like comedians in this house to do this thing. Whether each thing that happens in the episode was real is questionable. To say who wins is questionable. But do they do all of these things and like not know the other people are doing them? Yes.
Yeah, like
I'm not even sure about that, but
I feel like the
I love
piece
your
where
enthusiasm.
you could have had me for a while, but then you lost me, really comes down to the blatant cheating. And like, as you mentioned, and that was something I wanted to get into for anybody that has seen more of this, which is, I was curious to know, is like, is that just part of the show? Like, that's whatever the one dude's name is, that's just his shtick, right?
That
He's
is his shtick.
Okay. And
Yeah.
so, like, for that reason, it seems to me like you really fall out of that reality bucket. Like, you had me until about there, but then, like, now there's really nothing to believe anymore about the show.
So, as the person who put this on the queue, I'll start it. So, I've seen all of the first 2 seasons. I'd never seen this particular episode before. And, like, I find that Kenny seems like a cartoon character and seems like things, like, are kind of hard to believe what he's doing is really kind of real stuff on the spot. But Spenny seems very real. Like, Spenny just seems super stressed out and seems like he's taking everything super seriously. But, like, it's a recurring theme that Kenny is always trying to bend the rules, always trying to cheat, always trying to find a way. And, like, it's basically like, if he can get away with it without the other person finding out, it's legit. It's part of the game. But Spenny, for whether it's through, it comes across very as through his own like personal moral code, but it's probably more just like that's part of how they scripted for the show, is very much like, I gotta win the right way. I gotta do it kind of the way I'm doing it. But that's part of what's fun about the show, is like, if you buy into the fact that it's real, it's sometimes Kenny wins through kind of nefarious means. Sometimes Spenny wins anyway, even though he's kind of trying to do it kind of right and by the book. And seeing how that interplay works out is actually kind of fun to see how it evolves episode over episode.
Yeah,
So I think what comes down to, like, is it a reality show or not, is just like it's presented as Kenny's doing this insane stuff and you're seeing Spenny react to it. But, like, is it all a bit? Like, is Spenny, like, not really all stressed out? And is he, like, he knows they've kind of mapped out what they're going to do and stuff like that. And if that's the case, it's not a reality show. It's a scripted show. But if it's Kenny's doing this stuff, but he's coming up with it on his own, and Spenny's, like, legitimately trying to, like, do the competition fair, I think it would count as a reality show. So I don't think the cheating is what makes it not a reality show. It's just, is it actually 2 guys competing? Or is it all kind of, or how much of it is they've pre-mapped out the beats of what they're going to do? And that's what really comes down
Like,
to it.
we'll get into the beats of this episode, but like, is it the 2 of them in a room or like all of them and the producers in a room coming with a bunch of ideas for, okay, this is our competition. This is what Kenny's going to do. This is what Spenny's going to do. And this is how, like, eventually Spenny's going to lose. Like if that's how it's devised, then that's clearly not a reality show. It's like the producer's like, okay, here's the competition. Kenny goes off in his own room, Spenny goes off in his own room, and like has their own like strategizing meetings.
Yeah.
Which would go a long way if they did more of that. Like in this episode, Spenny I have no idea what he did one thing. He tried one thing to get Kenny to have a boner. That was it. Everything else was Kenny trying to do it.
He's definitely done more in other episodes, though. It might have just been like the severe awkwardness of the situation that he's just like, I'm out. I don't know. Like, I'm trying to make an excuse for this episode too, and I shouldn't be doing that.
At least going to the outside world, they've been nominated as like a best reality TV show. Some Canadian award.
Somebody nominated this show as the best reality show.
Yeah, give me 1 second.
You're gonna need to present a backing source on that.
Award for best reality program or series. They were also nominated for the Canadian Screen Award for best comedy series. So somewhere in the middle. Wikipedia listed it as a reality show. It's debatable.
So for people who have seen the show before, can you guys not hear me? Sorry.
No.
So for people who have seen the show before, how does this episode compare?
I think this is definitely not the best episode I've seen. I would not put this in the top as the ranked top episodes. One thing I didn't like about this episode more than a lot of episodes is this episode, part of the theme that this episode leans into is Spenny being uncomfortable with being implied he's gay. And I think that just puts a really kind of sour tone on the whole episode.
Yeah.
There's other episodes that really more of like Kenny is trying to stress Spenny out in ways that are more funny and less kind of inappropriate.
Yeah.
This episode was not funny.
It was funny. I disagree with you, Chris.
I had small but very good spikes of laughter, followed by like 5-10 minutes of okay.
This is definitely not a Chris show because the humor in this show is from people being uncomfortable and kind of putting in awkward situations. And Chris, I have watched enough reality shows with you to know that is not your thing.
Yeah. Well, let's go over with some of the things that happened in this episode that we watched.
Sure.
First thing that I have written down is Spenny had like a fake penis in his bathing suit, his Speedo. I thought that was humorous.
Yeah, that was definitely harmless and funny.
What was the plan there? Like, don't you want less junk there than more?
No, it's going to be on camera all the time. He wanted to like give it a little fluff. Like that was it.
I guess.
It was only directed humor at him. It was just.
Well, it could also like hide a small boner.
Oh,
I guess.
I didn't.
But that's a good one of something that like it feels like they talked about that ahead of time. Of like, I'm going to do this thing, and then you're going to notice it and like that. That's one of the ones that feels like most. It's stretching the reality show part to believe that that's just like Spenny came up with this idea on his own, and Kenny just happened to notice it and stuff like that.
Wait, are you saying that like you just don't have like a random like fluffer like laying around your room that you just pop in at any moment? Like you're saying,
Brian.
I guess the only one. All right.
I have some kielbasa.
What I found odd about his fake penis though is it had balls too. It wasn't just the shaft. Where I would have thought it would just be the shaft because he's stuffing it in there.
No, but I mean it's just like the entire thing. Like you don't want like just like here's like a kielbasa in your pants.
Why not? I think that actually would. I mean, at least
that's just unbelievable.
Make it look right, you know. You're having like half a ball. It's got no back package.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so like something they mentioned in the episode is like I guess Kenny discovers this and he says like that's for amputees or like trans people or something, like I could see the balls making sense for certain people.
For certain people, sure. I just think for the use case he had, I would have went Shaft only.
Sure.
Hot.
I think you're thinking about it too much, dude.
Just a little bit.
And then some of Kenny's things that he tried to do, which I thought were kind of humorous. He tried to like drink milk like a cat at some point. He was like wearing a cat outfit.
Oh my
and he was
God.
drinking milk like in a saucer. Then he tried to be a sexy handyman. Then he tried to fillet a kielbasa while a violinist was playing behind him. And this was all under the guise that Spenny was really into Kenny, and Kenny was trying to like make that a thing. So Kenny was trying to win this competition by making Spenny seem gay, which is just
Well, Kenny said his theory was that if Spenny gets stressed enough, he'll get a boner through that, because there's this incident from like 20 years ago where that kind of happened.
Yeah, okay.
So the premise is that his theory is to kind of lean into this gay thing will be the thing that stresses Spenny out. I think that's more than him actually being gay, is that it's like part of this stress theory that didn't work.
So I kind of feel like I remember from other episodes that like that was still like a recurring theme, like, or at least like a recurring joke. I don't know. Like, do you remember anything, Robert? Maybe I'm just remembering wrong.
Well, there wasn't so much like a joke about like specifically gay stuff, but I remember that one of my favorite episodes is an episode where they have to stay naked as long as possible. And Kenny gets these gay bondage guys to show up at the house, and Spenny's naked, and they're like, "Hey, Spenny, we heard you want to have some fun," and like he runs and hides. But it's not implied that it's like it's because Spenny doesn't want to be gay. It's because he's like afraid of getting brutally attacked while he's naked with these other guys. So it kind of had a different vibe to it than that. I don't recall, but like I haven't watched the show in a long time either, too. So
yeah,
maybe this was a recurring theme, and like 12 years ago I didn't notice it as much than I do now. But yeah.
Yeah, but I think it touches on like this show gets dated a little quickly, even though it was made like 12 years ago. The amount of like I don't know if it's like homophobia is the right term, but like the repulsion on like being deemed gay does not hold up well today.
Yeah.
But I definitely feel confident saying that this is not every episode is like this. So like this is sort of more specific to this episode.
That makes sense.
I have a question for you, Rob.
Yes.
What the hell was going on with the lie detector tests in this episode? Like, they kept like
That was
showing
funny.
different clips of this lie detector test. It's very unclear when it was happening, why it was happening, what was going on.
It was just another skit.
It was to prove he was gay. It goes back into the whole thing. Remember, he wrote down and circled when there was a blip, and he like zooms in on his pen, writing in red letters "gay,"
Gay.
which just again, like, it's the show.
Bad.
like to like answer the thing, like it was definitely just like a random skit like throughout the thing that they just like broke up into like 3 different parts for some unknown reason, and they called it out. That was like part of the thing. Is like, yeah, I thought this was gonna stress him out, but I guess not. I'm gonna have to go to Plan B, which is the nerve blocker.
Yeah, we can get into that. Where Kenny got a nerve block from his brother, the doctor.
Yeah,
This can't be a real doctor,
Is
right?
that really his brother?
Like none
I
of this
believe
can
it's his
be
brother. I don't
I
believe
mean-
he's a doctor.
Kenny and Spenny kept referring to each other as brother, but they have a different last name, right?
Yeah.
They're not actually brothers.
Right. So why should we believe that the doctor is?
I don't.
There
Did
you
they
go.
actually refer to each other as brothers, like that they're actually related?
I don't
mean,
think they did that.
They kept saying the word like brother, right?
I only
Like,
remember brother in the context of Kenny's brother, the doctor.
Maybe
Maybe
I'm
I'm-
just making this up. Never
I don't
mind.
know.
I didn't recall that either. It's referred to the doctor as brother.
So at
This
this
can't
point,
be a
when
real
Kenny
doctor.
gets a nerve block, like there's no way for for like Spenny to like win. Kenny physically is unable to get a boner. Like he can't, his whole penis is numb. So unless this competition goes till that like wears off, which the doctor said in like a week, it's just like why am I watching this show then? Like it's over. Like it's done. Like I didn't understand it. Like this is a competition. The competition is over. Like at this point I was like I totally checked out.
Yep.
I was done.
100% with you, man. I just couldn't even watch the scene of the nerve block. Also, that must have hurt like a son of a like.
Oh God.
Because that was straight injection, and oh boy. But
I'm
then,
not
yeah,
sure
like
if
you
that
said,
was real. I hope it was in a weird, fucked up way.
I'm
I
okay with
mean,
this form of cheating.
it
though.
held up
Like,
whatever he did in the strip club, so it seems like it was somewhat real.
Yeah.
But yeah, the
Seems
cheating
like
really
I don't
tips
know.
this thing over.
Like, Chris, I think the thing is that like you don't necessarily watch it for the competition. You watch it for sort of the reality show, seeing the reactions of kind of what's going to happen. And the competition is sort of just like a thread to kind of hold it all together. But like the other thing is it's just like, you know, it could also end in a tie. That's the other thing. What if neither of them get it? Because like I think there's a 3 or 4 day limit on how long they go. So it could possibly be that, hey, we're just ending and I guess no one wins.
Well, that's why they ultimately went to the strip club in this case, right? Because like it had gone on for several days. One dude has a nerve block, so it's impossible for him to lose. And the other dude is holding strong, so they're like, okay, we're gonna go to the strip club where each chooses the other's lap dance provider. And there you have it. The guy with the nerve block lost. I mean, didn't lose.
I mean, the lap dance was kind of interesting. Whereas like Kenny has the nerve block, so Spenny picks this like hot girl that he thinks gonna like make him get a boner. But then Spenny picks like a really attractive guy for Kenny. Their names are so similar. And it just like he eventually does get a boner and he loses. It's it's just very uncomfortable to watch in this Me Too era of like anti like gay like phobia stuff that is just I don't know.
This whole scene, everyone is uncomfortable. Like the people involved are uncomfortable. Like this was no good for anybody. This is really where I gotta ask, like, who in the hell is the show for? Because I don't get it. Like it's a bunch of close-up crotch shots, and then this dude like this dude is getting a boner at the end to lose, and like they're just zooming in on this thing. I couldn't look away from the screen fast enough.
I have a theory. I think this episode is for Kenny versus Spenny fans already. I think the bad intro episode.
Well, I would say if it wasn't for the homophobia and just like making gay seem bad, which really was just distasteful.
You're into the crotch shots? Is that where you're going?
Yeah, I didn't feel uncomfortable about it. Watching them get a lap dance, like.
I think you're downplaying the number of crotch shots in this episode, Noah. It was constant stream of close-up cross shots of these dudes in spandex for 22 minutes. That's what the show is.
I'm kind of with Noah, but I also kind of checked out. So like, I wasn't really staring at crotch shots, but like, my main issue with is like the manner in which they were like kind of throwing them at us. Like all these like, this guy was trying to get this other guy to get a boner based off of him, and like, just like he's not gay, and it's just let him alone. Like I don't know.
Yeah.
Just, like a little low on the show.
I'm gonna back up that I think this is not a good intro episode because, for example, like the lie detector test. Like as someone who's seen, I'm gonna say maybe like 20 episodes of this show, maybe more. Like when that's happening, like I didn't need the setup of why are they doing a lie detector. It's like, oh, okay, this is something Kenny set up and Spenny kind of was like talking to agreeing to it, and they're just kind of sprinkling throughout their episode. And it kind of just like made sense, but like, it didn't really add that much to the show. But it didn't really make sense. Like, and now I'll get into a little minutia of. So the first season of the show aired on CBC, which is Canadian public television,
That's
and
fucking
aired
wild.
in like an after-school spot. And CBC was like, "Wait, what is this show?" And like, there are certain episodes they filmed that they refused to air and stuff like that. And so then the second season moved to Showcase, which is much more of a, boundary pushing kind of channel. And I think that they started leaning more and more into, well, what makes the show good is being really out there and being really radical and stuff, arguably to the detriment of the show, that it's trying too hard to be weird and trying too hard to be like provocative. Because like we like to talk about having old seasons of reality shows on DVD. I have seasons 1 and 2 of Kenny versus Spenny on DVD, and season 1 is really interesting because it's very different, and like their competitions like who can stay awake the longest, and it's just there's nothing that sort of risque about it at all. It's just two people that are like really tired, and like back to the cheating thing of like Kenny's drinking lots of coffee and he's like trying to drink Red Bulls, he's doing all this stuff, and Spenny's like, I'm not going to drink any caffeine, I think that I want to do it pure, I want to do it without that. And you're trying to just see how they kind of try to just stay awake as long as possible. And that one was actually like really fun, but it became a different kind of show, like as they're trying to sort of like, oh, we need to kind of be boundary pushing. And I think this particular episode did a bad job of that, but like I still enjoyed this episode from kind of the parts of it that weren't as much about that, but like part of it is having the like Kenny and Spenny are like characters I'm familiar with, and so it's kind of fun to revisit that.
Sure.
I mean, I've seen a couple episodes of the show, and every time I'm like, this sounds great. One-on-one competition where they're doing crazy stuff, great. And then I watch it and I'm like, fuck you, Kenny, I hate you. Why do you have to, like, he just cheats? And I'm just like, I just like don't care at that point. Like I want the like mano-a-mano kind of stuff, and that's just not the show. It just isn't. So I already came in a little prejudiced on that front.
Before we dive deeper in closing out, there's one major part of this episode which we didn't cover up on, where Kenny brings his hot cousin to try to get
Bianca.
Spenny's hot cousin.
It's Spenny.
Spenny brings his hot cousin Bianca to go rub up and down
On Kenny.
Kenny. And it's just blatant like pimping out my cousin, which is funny as a concept, but also distasteful in execution.
I thought that was going to be I thought that was going to be what was going to happen this episode. It's like trying to get hotter and hotter women, and like maybe Spenny would bring, or Kenny would bring in like just like an overweight woman or something, and like that's the angle they would go for. But instead they went the gay route, and I was just like, not the route I would really have appreciated for this episode.
This was definitely another like not very comfortable moment of the show though, which really doesn't hold up in the modern day. And like, man, it just feels bad, like what this guy's doing, and then you feel bad for her, and then it gets weirder, and he starts getting like all up in her business, and it, keep in mind he has the nerve block, right? So like, I don't know, it's just I just don't get it. I just don't get the show. I don't get the appeal. I don't get the funny at all. I don't get it. Can we rate it yet?
You're not the only one.
I don't have that much to add.
Do you want to talk about the humiliation at all? Like, Rob, can you describe some of the other humiliations? Like, what is this aspect of
Let's
it?
talk about this one first.
So, well, I mentioned before that he put bees on his crotch, but they like went to some whatever they're called, beekeepers, and like they put this stuff on his like crotch area, and it was all like safely done. And I don't know, there wasn't really much to talk about. Like he kept saying that they stung him, which is usually when you're in that situation they don't. So it was, I don't know. I don't know what to talk about, Max.
No, I mean, that's the gist of it. However, it does remind me a lot of sort of the end of Impractical Jokers, where person who does worse has to be humiliated in some way.
Yeah, it's definitely very much like that.
Yeah.
They definitely probably stole that from this show for sure.
Yeah. If anything, this show makes me appreciate Impractical Jokers a lot more.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to do the direct comparisons, like in my mind, it's like the people are making fun of themselves generally, or getting themselves in a weird situation, and not trying to make fun of anyone else, really. And it's very Me Too, like it's not cringy in terms of like a modern era Me Too kind of like. They're not. This specific episode is very not good for that, but I'm sure other episodes are fine. But they're also just like, no one's trying to cheat. They're all just trying to like go out and produce funny content. And I don't know. To me, that's all the difference. All the difference in the world is the characters and the people in the show. Like, there's probably a great version of the show with just two regular people just having crazy competitions.
Sure.
Was it like the part of the appeal of this show is you have to be into the one guy is trying to cheat and bend the rules and one guy is not, and enjoying seeing how that dynamic plays out, because sometimes the one who cheats wins and sometimes the one who cheats doesn't win anyway. And like, if you're not into that, that's definitely not gonna be the show. The humiliation, I'll be honest, like humiliation is usually pretty forgettable. Like, I'm trying to remember some, like there's one where they have to be a town crier and just like saying something ridiculous in the middle of the street. There's one where one of them is sort of the bathroom concierge for the other one, while they're like, one of them has to go to the bathroom, the other one has to kind of like hand them their towel and stuff like that. But I honestly don't really remembering, and I feel like that's just part of the show is like whoever loses has to do a humiliation, but it's pretty much just like a 1 minute capper on the end, and not really like part of what makes the show interesting or not.
You know, I'm looking at their website for like all the names of the competitions, and I think this sort of suffers from the same problem as like The Onion, where the headline, very funny, and then the body, who cares? But like, you know, some of them are like, who do old people like more? Who can sell more Bibles? Who can win a rat race? It's just like, it's really odd stuff. And I kind of want to watch more.
Hey, Max, I have a quick question for you. Why did we not go with who can eat the most meat? Which was the number one in the list?
Because the original coworker who recommended it, I asked him, hey, given this list of recommendations, which one should I watch? And he said, definitely Boner.
Okay. The meat one seemed more interesting to me.
You know, I think I'm gonna watch more and report back to you guys.
Can we,
hey Chris, right after the pod, let's all watch it, you know?
I'm actually fine with that. Okay.
Max, I would really like a testimonial from your coworker as to why they chose this show for us to watch.
Not this show, this episode. Why they choose this episode?
Why did you suggest this episode?
My bet, documental. It's very similar to like some of the stuff.
True. That is true.
Like,
except they're not trying to give people boners. They're just trying to make people laugh.
No, they're trying to like stretch a rubber band and then hit their anus. It's the same shtick.
I'm laughing right now when you just say that.
Brian, I think you cracked it. Like, now that I've got the documental mindset on, I'm of course they picked this episode.
Yep.
I find it most funny that you guys can laugh just with that description, and I'm still just as appalled as ever. I hate this category.
We all know you hate documental
of TV. This category can just go in a black hole.
I chose the show to save you from another Japanese show.
Max, I can never trust you again.
I
just don't get
I'm not gonna lie.
Why I don't like. You guys are finding it funny just the description, and like I'm finding that amusing, and I don't get it. I don't get it.
We've seen that episode, and it's legitimately funny.
Yeah.
When he does it, it's disturbing, but it's funny.
No, it's just like your opinion, man.
All right, let's go with ratings. I'll start it off. I mean, it's not obvious. It's bottom third. I just don't like the shtick. We gave it to Max this week to pick the episode. It was his birthday, so
yeah.
I wasn't gonna poo-poo it. I was like, fine, we'll just do it. And I was giving it another shot. Like it's been a while. It's just
Not
I
a great
don't like this chick. So that's just me. I could see other people liking it. It's just not for me. Noah, what do you got for me?
I'm a little torn. The episode itself, I'd put it at the top of the bottom. Like it's mildly entertaining. I very much agree with Max's sentiments. Like it's very much like an Onion article in video form. There were some high points, but generally it's just kind of off-putting as it ages. But I'm torn on that because the background I know about the show, where it's like really popular, people laud it for being innovative and like really trying something new. So I feel bad for putting it in the bottom. I think if we did actually watch like 2 or 3 more episodes, we would easily put it in the middle, if not the top. But for this episode, because other shows don't have that benefit, it's going in the bottom.
All right, Max, what do you got for us?
This episode was not great, just hasn't aged very well. The show itself, I am going to give it another shot, which immediately takes it out of the bottom. I'm going to give it middle third, bottom of the middle, pending more watching. I think it has a lot of promise.
Rob, what do you got for me?
So I'm arguably going to pull a Kenny and cheat a little bit in that I'm not going to judge this show just based on this episode. I'm going to judge it based on the fact I've seen a lot of this show, and I'm putting the show in the top. I think the show is really fun, and my brother and I watched a whole bunch of this show together, drunk on his couch, and it was a real great time in Toronto, where the show is shot. Kenny and Spenny are both from Toronto, and yeah, I've had a great time with the show in my life. So this episode, I did not think reflects what makes the show good.
All right, Brian, what do you got?
I'm also gonna have to pull a little cheat because like I've watched a bit of this. Like it's just always randomly on. It was always randomly on Comedy Central. I think that like it's got to go in like the bottom middle. I definitely didn't like a lot of aspects about this episode, but I've seen other ones. I'm pretty sure I've seen the meat one, and that was pretty good. So I also kind of want to see the one where they try to sell more Bibles because that just sounds really crazy.
But is it crazy when the guy just cheats? Like,
no, but that's kind of. I mean, you're always gonna like try to like bend the rules, and that's just
no. I just want to legitimately see 2 people try to outsell themselves on Bibles. Like, I want to see.
Hey,
I don't want to see some guy like just like set up a website and cheat. Like, whatever.
James, cheating's within the rules.
Not having seen that episode, I would bet money one of them sells 0 Bibles.
Let me give you a couple tastes of season 5. Who can smoke more weed? First guy to touch the ground loses. Who do disabled people like more? Who's the better Jew? Just, I love all of these proposals.
All right, James, what do you got for me?
Here's the thing. I can only judge the show based on what I've seen, and it's horrid. The show is rancid. Just get rid of it. Just put it in a space flush. Get rid of it. Flush it from the internet. It's bottom of the bottom, worst of the worst. Really starting season out 5 in the gutter here. I get where Rob and others are coming from. Like, other episodes could be potentially watchable, but I can't like ever bring myself to watch any more of the show. It's the worst thing I've ever seen. I don't get it.
Which is worse, James, this show or documental?
This particular episode was unwatchable. Like, it was just a nightmare. It was a nightmare.
I kind of agree with
minutes.
that.
Like, you could barely watch the
screen.
screen. So, like, you know, I feel in terms of number of minutes that I could withstand more of, potentially documental could survive some more seconds. Whew, terrible.
Rough.
I don't get it.
I'm feeling you, James. I got you. So I have a quick Top Chef update. I have not actually watched last week's episode, so we're a couple behind, but I haven't given an update in a while. So right now, Noah's in the lead with 32 points.
No.
And Max is pretty close behind him with 29 points. But Noah has 2 contestants still left. Max only has 1. Let's see. Then I have 25. And let's see. Then Annabeth has 21.5. Brian has 21. James, you have 8. And Harrison has 4.
Not last.
You're not last.
I got that going for me.
Job, James.
There's really I don't know. This sounded so much more fun than it turned out being. I thought it would give me a reason to watch the show, and it still hasn't. Like, Top Chef's a good show. I just couldn't get into this particular season. But yeah, fantasy really dropped the ball for me here.
I think that for me, it makes even more poignant that I don't like cooking shows. Like, I just don't care. I don't know what it is. Rob, do you have an update for me?
Oh, I got the update for you, and it's a bit of a disappointing update, I gotta say. So the first 2 seasons, the finale, the people are being revealed. It's like kind of people I've recognized and stuff like that. But season 3 kind of ended on a different kind of note. So I predicted on the show that the frog was Jaleel White, aka Urkel. But then I admitted that Robin Thicke had made a strong case that it was Bow Wow. And sure enough, the frog came in 3rd, and the frog was Bow Wow. So not Jaleel White. But the thing about Bow Wow is I have heard of Bow Wow.
That's good.
As for second place, and I'm trying to look up these names. I don't know the names. The second place was the turtle. And I'm not prepared enough for this. This is terrible. Was a guy. They're just saying his last name. Where's his first name? Oh, this is terrible. This is a terrible update.
What's his last name?
McCartney.
Paul?
Not McCartney. Not Paul McCartney.
Come on, that was a good guess.
I mean, based on McCartney, that's a reasonable guess.
I mean, what else are you gonna say?
Sean McCartney, the little brother of Paul.
Everyone knows Sean.
Sean de McCartney.
Anyway.
Great radio, Rob.
Yeah, some person who nobody cares about. And then the winner was the Night Angel. And the Night Angel is Candy Burris, who was in a band called Encore, which I hadn't heard of.
From that Disney reality show we watched?
No, different Encore.
Oh.
And apparently helped write the song No Scrubs. So when they were talking about No Scrubs, I was like, wait, was she in TLC? It's like, no, she just helped write the song No Scrubs.
How are you supposed to know that?
But her real claim to fame is in the land of reality TV, where she is a real housewife of Atlanta.
Oh.
And was also in a season of Celebrity Big Brother, but not the episode we watched. She was not on there with Meta World Peace. She was in a different season of Celebrity.
Oh man, that show was bad.
So Candy Burris, who was a good singer, but it's like the reveal was kind of like, I don't know who this is.
So Rob, how does this make you feel about season 4?
Well, before we get to my thoughts on season 4, I want to go to the internet corner because we had some info way earlier in the season that Noah had seen on Wikipedia. It reported who the winner was. So now Noah, let's go to the corner. What was the verdict?
Yeah, this is pretty exciting throughout the season because our character made it to the top 3. So going a little bit back, every week when Rob goes to his Masked Singer corner, I go to the Wikipedia page and then watch the show, but I like seeing who gets revealed and keeping up.
Such a weird thing.
It's a very weird thing. So scroll back 2-3 months ago, I go to the Wikipedia page and they say they announced the winner for season 3. I showed it to Brian Houston. He's like, yeah, this is weird. So I put in my notes and we say we'll get back to it at the end. Wikipedia got it wrong. Fake news. They had that Keith Urban is the turtle who wins Masked Singer season 3. So it was exciting that the turtle kept going on, but clearly Keith Urban is way too big to be on the show.
You got played, dude.
Also, it's just people can edit Wikipedia, and you could see the edit.
No, for sure. But like you see that, and it's like, oh, did somebody leak it? Because it's going to get deleted immediately. It's a fun mystery.
Yeah. Like the community corrects misinformation pretty quickly.
Yeah, exactly. And it was gone immediately.
No,
Right.
it was
The
up
fact that he caught it.
Yeah. Sorry. What's up, Brian?
Sorry, I was saying like the fact that he caught it before it got edited is like such chance timing. It's kind of improbable that like it would just not get removed within like the first like couple minutes.
Well, that's kind of disappointing, Noah. Thought you had it in.
I thought so too.
Rob,
So the turtle was Jesse McCartney, who was in the boy band Dream Street.
Oh, I've never heard of it.
Yeah.
whatever.
Whatever.
I'm glad they kicked off. Who did they kick off first? Like,
Lil Way.
yeah.
You know, an actual musician.
So for season 4, like I don't know. Like part of me is like, maybe I'm out. Maybe the fun of it's over. But now I'm like, is it quarantine Masked Singer? Do we gotta see what insanity is gonna be because of that? And how they're gonna deal, like no crew. Is Ken Jeong gonna be are they gonna have Joel McHale in the same bed he was on during the Tiger King bonus episode as a guest judge? Like I might need to see how they do this.
But do you still feel like they're kicking off the right people?
No.
Like as it gets towards the end, or
Well, like Night Angel was legitimately really good and I think was a worthy winner, but like the biggest black eye in the season was Gronk making it as far as he did, because he was terrible from the first episode and he kept advancing for no good reason.
do you think it would be better if they had like American voting, like a lot of those other shows, like text in, or just like whatever?
I like that Chris
matter?
associates people watching on TV as American voting.
Well,
Unlike those foreigners actually in person, we need to get the Americans voting.
well, that's how the American Idol was doing the American votes thing. Like, what do you want from me?
Yeah, I know. I don't know.
It's not a worldwide show.
They
I
can't do
promise
it
you.
live because it's all in the can from when the season premieres, Chris.
I know, but do you think it would be better?
I don't know if it changes the show. Like the key to the show is that the reveals have to be fun, and this season wasn't as good because the better reveals were earlier in the season.
I thought the key to the show is the guessing.
Yeah, the reveals have to. You want to know who the people are when they get revealed.
Well, you just got to start watching a lot of Real Housewives. You'll probably know all of them.
I guess that's true.
Anyone else got anything they want to shout out before we conclude? No creepy shows, Noah?
No, I actually stopped watching a lot of TV shows.
What?
Are you okay?
Well done.
What's your temperature?
Proud of you.
I know. I should get back on that. But been rewatching Breaking Bad, and it just reaffirms my confidence in it is the best show ever made.
What about The Wire?
I got to give The Wire another chance. I've tried to get into it before. I couldn't do it. I do want to give it a third shot on getting into it.
What are the other Sopranos, Mad Men?
Yeah, Mad Men, Sopranos.
What is the White House show?
West Wing,
West Wing,
Veep.
Veep.
Very good.
What Game of Thrones? Like what are we ranking these against?
Not Game of Thrones. West Wing I never got into because I don't like the Aaron Sorkin like unreal chatter where everyone's like super slick, like has the best lines ever. I can't stand it.
Okay. All right. There you go. Noah Singer, Breaking Bad, best show ever. I've actually been rewatching Lost, to be honest. And I really miss the whole flashback format that they had. It's so compelling to watch something happening and then getting bits and pieces of their history as you go. But man, does that show have a lot of problems.
What season are you on?
I'm just about finishing season 1. I'm following a podcast.
Oh man, season 2 is so good.
Yeah, so It's just taking me a while.
I'm
'cause
trying to remember, where
watching
does
an
it start
episode, listening to a
to-
podcast, and that takes, a lot longer than just binge watching all 6 seasons of Lost.
Yeah, I mean, you could just crank a season out in a weekend. I mean, that's no problem. But what season does it start to dip? I'm trying to remember because I feel like Max is like, I feel like season 1, then you're all in. You immediately bought season 2. You watch season 2, you're like, this show, okay, I'm all in. Then season 3, is it season
I
3
think
that
the
starts
latter
to dip?
half of 3,
Yeah.
and then like season 6, I think is really where it starts falling apart. Like,
What did it coincide with the writer's strike?
I don't think so.
The writer's strike was before 4. And so they originally were only going to do 2 more seasons, and they made it 3 more seasons because they changed the plotting. I disagree 2 was really good. Like, it definitely started to get weird during 2. And then 3 was the worst.
I mean, Lost gets weird. Like, let's be clear. Like, it starts off very normal and gets real weird real quick.
What's that new show or newer show? I think it's like season 2 or 3 now. Where
Siberia.
Everyone know, because that's a fake show. Moving on from Max's derailment. It's about a plane. People disappear for like 5 years and they come back. The plane reappears. And it has like this flashback-y format, which I think is from like the creators of Lost or something. Am I making that up? Anybody
I have
see
no
that?
idea.
Oh, there's
Nothing.
a show like this. I don't remember what the name of the show is though. I've seen a couple commercials for it.
Yeah, it's like on ABC or something. I feel like
It's on network TV.
It's definitely network TV.
yeah. Anyways, this is terrible. You would think, a bunch of podcasters that watch a bunch of TV would.
It's apparently called Manifest.
Yeah, there you go. That's it. Manifest. Yep.
Maybe it's for me. I like that format.
This sounds really up your alley. There's like this mystery element, flashbacky things. Bada bing, bada boom. Manifest.
So they're just trying to make Lost again.
It's
telling me.
new Lost. I don't know. I haven't really seen. I think I've seen a couple episodes. but
They're
I
on a
definitely forgot about it.
plane. They're lost. There's flashbacks. Like,
Yeah. Boom.
Lost.
New Lost. Check it out.
They're not on an island though.
No island.
No island.
This
They-
sounds
well,
more
they
like
did
a
the,
remake of Airplane.
Well, it's like Lost that met Thanos, right? There's a blip.
Fair. I haven't been watching that much TV because I've been playing Final Fantasy VII, the remake. Like the last 3 weeks, all I've been doing. So I finally finished that up. So maybe I'll go back to TV watching. All right. Well, I guess that's it for us this week. You can find us on Twitter at Who Put This On. You can find us on Facebook.com/Who Put This On. Give us questions and suggestions at whoputthison@gmail.com. And we'll see you guys next time.